Hey Shalford family, yesterday we talked about worship and we looked at John chapter 4 verses 23 and 24. In our series on discipleship, we got to the point yesterday where we talked about the purpose of discipleship. Why are we on this journey of following Jesus? And we looked at Jesus' words in John 4 to the Samaritan woman at the well who asked Jesus, now wait a minute, she perceived he was a prophet and a divinely inspired person based on some things he had told her. And so she said, no, wait a minute, where should we worship? And Jesus said, no, that's not the right question. The right question is, who do you worship and how do you worship? So he says that true worshipers worship the Father in spirit and in truth. And we looked at those two aspects yesterday of worshiping in spirit, worshiping from the depths of who we are with authenticity and honesty. We talked about worshiping according to the truth, that Jesus is the truth. So we worship in line with who God is and who he's revealed himself to be in Jesus. And we said that we can't really worship in our spirit unless the Holy Spirit comes in and makes us new, because our hearts are far from God. In fact, Ephesians 2 says our hearts are dead towards God. And so the question about our spirit is, are we alive or are we dead? Now, the illustration that I ended up using was that of marriage. So imagine you walk into a restaurant and you see me sitting in a booth. And you can't see who I'm sitting with, but you don't see any of my kids. So you presume I'm on a date. It's a Friday night. And you see me over the moon, joyful, laughing, loud, excited. You can tell whoever I'm with, I love them really dearly. So you walk over to say hello, and as you turn the corner, you see a lady who is not Carrie. Now, you would be hopefully surprised. Hopefully you would be shocked. Hopefully you would take some action and tell our elders at Shalford, which we'll have in a couple months. But the point of this illustration is to say, now wait a minute, you saw the spirit of what looks like a healthy marriage. But the spirit of the joy and love that I had in that illustration is not directed at my wife. That would be spirit without truth. That would be the spirit of loving and joyful marriage and union. But then when you saw the truth of who I was doing that with, you would be offended that that's not my wife. Now, picture the same scenario. You walk into a restaurant, see me in the booth, don't know who I'm sitting with, but I have a scowl on my face. I look angry and bitter. I look annoyed and frustrated. Maybe I'm checking my watch, like, when is this going to be over? And you think, wow, he must be in a really hard meeting. You walk over and turn the corner to say hello, and you look, and my wife is sitting there. Now, you would look at my wife, and you would think of the truth of that relationship as this is a husband and a wife, and you would hope that I would be in a much better mood to be out on a date with my wife. The truth of our relationship would lead you to believe that the spirit of our relationship would be alive and joyful. And I believe that's exactly what God is inviting us into when he says that the Father is seeking true worshipers who worship in spirit and in truth. People who take God for the truth of what he says in his word, and knowing that his word is going to lead us to Jesus, but people who don't just have truth without life, truth without emotion, truth without affection. We don't want dead orthodoxy. We also don't want directionless spirituality. We want you to be invited into God's very presence, to be honest with him, to experience and encounter the real, living God of the Bible. That is the true worship that Jesus invites you into.